Hey guys, Dr. Michael Young here again, back for another one of our exciting videos. We are moving right along in our BA 115 Business Information Skills course. And what we're doing is we're kind of going along each week and we're covering different aspects of business studies and business career. And this week we're covering a topic that I teach normally, so I'm pretty comfortable with this topic. This topic is management, right? Management and leadership. So sit back, take notes, and enjoy. Yeah, what do managers do? This is a question that we often ask in business. There's been a lot of research on this, talking about managers' roles. And back in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of researchers going around following managers around, taking notes, and doing surveys, and trying to find out what they do. And this has been around for so long that when I took this course many years ago, we talked about these same 4 functions. So you need to know this. You need to know the 4 functions of what managers actually do, what they actually perform. And these are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. These are the 4 functions that managers use to accomplish organizational goals. This is a standard traditional definition. So let's look at those 4 functions a little bit more deeply. What does it mean? Well, first one, planning. Managers have to determine what needs to be done. They want to come up with strategies to achieve those goals efficiently and effectively. They need to know what resources they need to know, and they need to set standards, and so they need to make a plan. They need to know what's happening out there, so they need to scan the environment, right? Number 2, organizing. Well, they need to get together the people and the other resources they need to accomplish those plans, to carry out those plans. They need to put together a structure. They need to recruit, select, train, and develop employees, HRM, which we're going to cover, I believe, in the module after next. And then, they need to put the employees where they're going to be the most effective. In other words, they need to organize the whole situation, the whole environment to achieve the goal set out in the plan. Number 3, leading. Okay, you need to motivate people. You need to give them a vision, assignments, explain the routines, clarifying the policies. You need to get the whole structure moving. And this is sometimes the most difficult of these, getting the organization to move together in a single coherent direction. Whenever we talk about leading in my management class, and what I'm going to do this semester is I'm going to have our President Eric Cage, is going to come and talk about his leadership style. This is Management 301. Maybe if you take that from me next semester, you'll get to see that, talk about it in more detail. Because he does a really good job of talking about what it means to be a leader. And then finally, you need to have some sort of mechanism in place to make sure that the whole thing is working out. And we call this controlling. Are we achieving those objectives? Do we have rewards in place and punishments maybe in place, taking corrective action when necessary to make sure this all is happening as it's supposed to? And so this is a controlling function. So now this should make a little bit more sense to you. What do managers do? They do planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. However, and this is a big however, a lot of people believe that talking about management in terms of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling is maybe a little bit outdated, and that what we need to do is talk about what's happening in the modern world, because as you all know, many things are changing right now. Many structures are being challenged. Many industries, the boundaries of industries are being defined. Managers' jobs continue to evolve. And so, what do you think? Planning, organizing, leading, controlling, is it still relevant or not? This would be a good essay question for our midterm exam. But anyway, the consensus is that with this new environment, managers need to be more collaborative and less controlling. Need to put emphasis on building teams, and need to coach employees, need to communicate, have better communication skills, and be team players, and realize that we're living in a global community and be globally aware. And they also need to be able to change rapidly and be flexible. Think about what happened during COVID when many organizations had to pretty much close their doors and people had to switch to whole new ways of operating, working from home, and all of this. So this is not going to go away. These things are not going to go away. So managers' roles are continuing to evolve. Popular word that you should be familiar with is empowerment. It's this idea that really when you think about what a manager is trying to do, they're trying to tap into each worker's individual potential. And each worker knows more about their job than anybody else, including their boss, right? Once they've been there for a while and done it for a while, they know what needs to be done more than anybody else. Now, how do we get them to really try to figure out what needs to be done, and how do we get them to actually do what needs to be done and encourage them to take this responsibility? This is called empowerment. So, I don't know. The question is, and this is a rhetorical or discussion question, is how do you think most employees respond to this empowerment on the job? And it's met with different reactions from different people. Some people take to empowerment quite well. Other people don't. Maybe it depends on the job. Maybe it depends on the situation. Maybe it depends and is changing over time. So it's something to think about. Part of being a leader, again, the planning and decision making, vision, goals, and objectives. You may be aware that we have something called Future State at West Virginia State University, and we've gone through a very lengthy exercise of trying to come up with visions and goals and objectives for our university, all to the credit of our president, Eric Cage. A couple of tools that managers often use to make decisions and figure out what's going on is they have to ask a couple of questions. What's the situation? One that's quite popular, you've probably heard of, maybe you played around with this in high school, is something called SWOT analysis. We'll talk about that more in the next slide. And then the second question is, how do we get there from here? In other words, how do we get to our goals from here? All right, here's the situation. Here's our industry. Here are our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats that we have. And here's where we want to go. So how do we use this situation, or from this particular situation, how do we develop strategic, tactical, operational, and contingency plans to achieve our goals? From your textbook in Chapter 7, we have here an example of a SWOT analysis. They're calling it the SWOT matrix, in which, now these are examples, SWOT is going to vary from each organization. SWOT analysis is done at an organization level, and the SWOT analysis is going to vary from organization to organization to organization. So anyway, these are examples, some potential internal strengths. Oh, let me say this. The reason that SWOT analysis is powerful is because it's comprehensive. It looks at both inside as well as outside, okay, internal and external. And it also looks at the good things, strengths, and opportunities, as well as the bad things, the weaknesses and the threats. So, for example, a strength is something that's a good thing, a positive, internal. A weakness is something that's a potential bad thing, but internal. A opportunity is something that's a potential good thing, external, and a threat is a thing that's a potential bad thing, external. A threat is something out there that could come and get us. So with that background, let's go through this. These are examples. We might have core competencies in key areas. We may not. These are examples. Potential strengths, market lead, functional area strengths, proven management, cost advantage, better advertising campaigns. These are all things that would be internal to an organization that would make us stronger, make us better. Potential weaknesses. Maybe we don't have a clear strategic direction. Maybe our facilities are obsolete. Maybe our profitability is low. Maybe we don't have the managerial depth and talents we need. Maybe we don't have a good market image. Maybe our product line is too narrow. These are things that are internal and bad weaknesses. Potential opportunities. Examples might be, well, we got an opportunity to serve an additional customer group. Can we extend our product line so that we're serving, say, seniors as well as young people? I don't know. That would be market segmentation. We might be able to transfer our skills to a new product. 3M is an example. Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing is an example of a company that uses their strength in adhesives to produce lots of different products. They extend that into different product lines. Ability to skill transfers to new products. They might be able to enter foreign markets. Maybe their competitors are becoming complacent, and ability to grow due to increase in market demand. All of these are potential opportunities. Finally, potential threats. Well, maybe low-cost competitors are coming in. These are kind of dated. This is something that we probably have to worry a little bit less about now, but who knows? The rising self-substitute goods, slower market growth, costly regulatory requirements, vulnerability to recession and business cycles, changing buyer needs and tastes. All of these are potential external threats. When I was reading the news today, I came up with a new word, FOBO, F-O-B-O, the fear of becoming obsolete. I don't know about you, but I kind of worry about AI. So this is something that we need to be concerned about, really, right? And as you are just beginning your career, you would like to make your manager skill set something that would be very difficult to be taken over by AI. Artificial intelligence is, if you haven't played around with ChatGPT, you really should. It's really amazing. And so there are many, many jobs that could potentially become obsolete. However, if you're still creative, if you can do things that are non-programmed, those types of things are less likely to become obsolete. But still, it's something that we need to think about. And this would make a nice discussion question if we could do it. Here we have a pyramid. Shows different levels of management. This is also from your textbook, Figure 7.4. We have 3 levels of management, and then we have the non-supervisory employees. Anybody that's worked in an organization should be familiar with these. At the top, we have the president, vice presidents, the top management team, you might say. In the middle, we have, depending on if it's a plant or a service organization or whatever, or a government organization, you have plant managers, division heads, and branch managers. And at the bottom of the management rung, you have the first line managers, the people that are out there on the front lines, supervisors, foremen, department heads, section heads, and then finally down here we have the non-supervisory employees. This is something we always talk about in management. There are different types of skills that managers need. We've got these categorized into 3 categories. We've got the technical skills. We've got human relation skills, and then finally we have conceptual skills. Technical skills would be how to use a computer, how to use Excel, how to do basic accounting, how to do basic financial analysis. These are technical skills. In between, you have human relation skills. In the past, this has been very important. The ability to communicate, to convince other people, to motivate other people, to get them to join you in your vision, and the ability to persuade and work together with people in teams, etc. And then finally, they've got these kind of in reverse order. Conceptual skills are normally thought of as higher level skills. This is abstract thinking, the ability to put bits and pieces together and see relations among various parts. Overall, which of these sets of skills do you think is more important? Technical, human, relations, or conceptual? You give up? Well, research shows that one of the main reasons that managers fail, or lots of other people fail, is because of poor human relation skills. You need to be able to work with people. This is constant all throughout your career, whether you are just starting out or whether you are a top manager. You need to have these human relation skills. However, the skills that managers need over the course of their career tends to change. First line managers, when you first start out in your very first job, you're going to be hired probably for your technical skills, your abilities to do a particular task. This is the reason that accounting is such a great major for getting that first job, because people always need accountants. They need people that can speak accounting language and do basic accounting and work with spreadsheets. Those are technical skills that often first line managers or first people just starting out in their business career need. They also need those human relation skills, which always come in handy. Notice this doesn't change. The other boxes change, but this stays constant. The human relation skills stays constant at each of the levels all throughout your career. And in conceptual skills, not so much, but doesn't mean you don't want to start thinking about that. You want to start thinking about the whole organization and how things fit together early. Mid-level managers, we got to kind of divide it equally. Okay, not so much technical skills, a little bit more on conceptual skills. That's the reason you want to start thinking about the overall organization, like strategies and how the parts fit together early, so you can be the one that gets the advancement. And at the top, now we have technical skills, not so much, and conceptual skills taking a bigger slice of what's needed. So technical at first, then kind of evenly spread out, and finally conceptual skills. Under the organizing banner, you might call it, something that's received a lot of attention lately is staffing. It's really hard. Turnover is increased, and staffing is critical. They say here, especially in internet and high-tech areas, but it's become almost all areas now have become critical for staffing. People are becoming more picky, and as the job market tightened up, they were able to become more picky. So staffing and HRM is becoming a much more critical part of manager's job, which would fall under the organizing set of activities. And we're going to, as I said mentioned before, we got a whole module that we're going to talk about that later on. Next, talking about leadership. Well, there's a theory called contingency, which says that you need different leadership styles in different situations. So in other words, leadership style is contingent on the situation. And some of the different leadership styles that have been identified are autocratic, the autocrat, the dictator, makes management decisions without consulting others. Sometimes it's needed, all right? We get a lot of bad press about autocratic leaders, but we need that with certain situations. Unskilled workers, unmotivated workers. Next, we have participative or democratic leadership style. This is where managers and employees work together to make decisions. This is, studies show that if workers are involved in making some of the decisions, they're going to be more satisfied. And finally, free reign leadership, where it's kind of like you let them do what they want to do, just get out of their way. This would be most effective in professionals, maybe creative types. They don't want to have someone leaning over their shoulder telling them what they have to do. Next, we're talking about leaders. Leaders, they're encyclopedias written about the idea of leadership. How can you be an effective leader? We mentioned before, sometimes you got to be autocratic, tell people what to do. Other times you need to kind of bring people along. One of the big things that's part of the management literature these days is this idea of empowering workers. Progressive leaders give employees authority to make decisions on their own without consulting a manager. Again, the person on the ground knows what needs to be done more than anybody else. So empowering and enabling workers is part of a progressive view of leadership in certain situations. Finally, last but not least, we have the control function. Making sure the whole thing works, making sure the train stays on the tracks. Measures performance relative to planned objectives, rewards people for work well done, takes necessary corrective actions. That whole process might look something like this. Here we have what's called a flow chart. This is figure 7.7 from your textbook. Got 5 steps and then a feedback loop. Number 1, establish clear standards. This is where we're going. Number 2, monitor and record performance. Are we getting there? Let's see what's happening. Number 3, compare the results against the standards. This would be, are we getting there? This is where we want to be. This is where we're going. Number 4, tell people, let people know, okay, yes, no, and reward people that are doing well and take corrective action for people that are not doing well. So number 5, if needed, take corrective action to make sure that we're on track. And then we compare this with those standards again. Are the standards realistic? Are they achievable? Should they be changed? I once heard a guy talking about flying an airplane, and it was a pilot, and he said, folks, I've just set it on automatic pilot, which means that technically we're not flying towards our destination at any time. We're constantly being off track, and the automatic pilot pulls us back in this direction. We'll be slightly off track, and then pulls us back in this direction. We're never exactly on track until we actually get there. So this is kind of like this process with the whole control function. Right, so customer satisfaction is part of that control function. Traditional forms of measuring success are usually financial. We need to please the employees, the stakeholders, and the customers as well. So we've got external customers and we've got internal customers. Oh, all right then, guys. That's it. We've completed another module. Hope this was helpful. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you next time.